billing as an evening with the Clintons. And no, I'm not kidding, this is really happening. It would appear that these two just don't know when to quit. So the first stop was last week in Toronto, and it was an absolute fail with respect to ticket sales, which should send a message to the Clintons, but it probably won't. The event was at the Scotiabank Arena, which seats about 19,000, of which the Clintons only managed to sell about 3,300 seats, so an outstanding 16% turnout there for them. And I'm not going to bore you guys with too much content from the event. It was mostly a lot of Trump bashing, as you might imagine. Nothing really new or interesting there. For example, at one point, Bill apologized to Canada for the way Trump disrespected Trudeau during the whole NAFTA trade negotiation. So, you know, just typical of Democrats, always apologizing to the rest of the world for anything and everything that we do to advance our interests. So here's what that stupid apology looked like.
NAFTA was a trade deal. It's 25 years old. It needed to be looked at again, right? We needed to update some of the intellectual property stuff and some of the other stuff. On balance, I think there's more good than harm in it. But all the rhetoric was just for consumption. It was just rhetoric. And we did some real damage, I'm afraid, to our relationship. And so if we did, I ask for your forbearance, because we do love you, most of us in America, and we know we need each other.
All right, so there's good old Bill, and now some of you may not remember, but Bill is the president who actually signed the original NAFTA deal to begin with. This was when he wasn't spending time with Monica, of course. So it's not surprising to me that he's a little sensitive about Trump restructuring one of his legacies. But you know, I'm sure if Obama had played hardball with Trudeau when negotiating our trade agreements, you wouldn't have heard a thing out of the Clintons. But when it's Trump, they gotta say something, right? Personally, I don't care how NAFTA gets done as long as it gets done, because it is important for our long-term economic health. And honestly, if Trump gets in a couple jabs at Trudeau in the process, who really cares? It's just an added bonus. But anyway, let's keep this going. So the funniest thing about all of this for me was this op-ed I read in the New York Times from this past weekend. It was written by a liberal columnist named Maureen Dowd, who was at the event, and I think it perfectly captures the sentiment of many liberals in the country right now with respect to the Clintons. So I'm just going to read you some of the highlights from my perspective, and again, I think it's a really good piece. I'm looking around at Scotiabank Arena, the home of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's a depressing sight. It's 2 for the price of 1 in half the arena. The hockey rink is half curtained off, but even with that, organizers are scrambling at the last minute to cordon off more sections behind thick black curtains. They say due to a lack of sales. I paid $177 weeks in advance. I passed on the pricey meet and greet option. On the day of the event, some unsold tickets are slashed to single digits. I get reassigned to another section as the Clintons' audience space shrinks. But even with all the hurting, I'm still looking at large swaths of empty seats, and I cringe at the thought that the Clintons will look out and see that too. It was only 4 years ago, after all, that Canadians were clamoring to buy tickets to see the woman who seemed headed for history. What is the point? It's not inspirational. It's not for charity. They're not raising awareness about a cause like Al Gore with global warming. They're only raising awareness about the Clintons. It can't be the money at this point. Have they even spent all the Goldman gold yet? Do they want to swim in their cash like Scrooge McDuck? But watching the Clintons hash over their well-worn tale of falling in love at Yale Law School, I realize that it's not only about the money. Some in Clinton world say Hillary fully intends to be the nominee. Once more, in Toronto, she didn't rule it out, dodging the question with a lame joke. And here's the closing. The Clintons refuse to be discarded. It has been their joint project for half a century to be at the center of the public scene and debate. The way that the whole thing came crashing down in 2016 is too hard for them to hear. They would like to rewrite the ending, but there is no way to do that. Their pathological need to be relevant in America is belied by a Canadian arena where stretches of empty seats bear witness to the passing of their relevance. It's a pity. Yup, pitiful indeed. So a pretty good review there of the event from Maureen. I'll link this article below if you guys want to read it in full. But to wrap this up, I'm still trying to understand why in the world this is even a thing. Why are the Clintons doing this to themselves and to the Democratic Party, which clearly just wants them to disappear at this point? You know, it made sense in the past when Bill and Hillary actually had power. They would do these paid speaking and consulting events that were usually bankrolled by corporations to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. So shouldn't that be enough? I mean, they can't sell political favors or influence anymore, so what are they trying to accomplish? They should have plenty of money stashed away for Chelsea to inherit, right? right? They don't need to be putting their frail bodies through all this travel, unless Maureen is right and this is all really about Hillary making one last-ditch run at 2020, but I don't know, I just don't think she's that dumb. Pretty much every prominent Democrat and numerous Democrat allies in the media are all on record saying that Hillary 2020 would be the worst thing possible for their party, and I think Hillary gets that. So I honestly can't decipher their motivations here, but let me know your theories in the comments. Is it money? Is it political? Or is it something else? Let me know what you think, and I'm going to leave you guys with another classic Hillary coughing fit from this event in Toronto, and let's give credit to Miss Dowling for recording this live and posting it online for our viewing pleasure. Take care, guys. I will see you in the next one.
Countries. He just doesn't want people like me saying, wait a minute, why are we doing this? And let's try to stop it.
So I'm going to ask a question, a serious question, and then maybe we'll end up on a little bit of a lighter note. But the United States pulled out of the Paris Accords, climate accords. Every other country in the world